This lesson, we'll talk about personal selling and an introduction to personal selling and how to develop trust. The main module objectives are to describe personal selling as a marketing tool, understand the difference between transaction-based and relationship-based selling, explain facets of trust and sales ethics, and start to think about sales in terms of persuasion. We'll also learn how to earn trust from prospects and some of the things that salespeople should embody in order to gain trust. Within this particular lecture, we'll focus on the following topics. What is personal selling? The difference between trust and transaction-focused selling. We'll talk a little bit about customer value and what that means. And we'll describe what it means to have sales dialogue within the sales process and what comes as a part of that sales dialogue. We'll also touch base a little bit on the skills needed to be successful in sales. And then how does a salesperson actually earn trust? First of all, personal selling is a marketing tool. It focuses on interpersonal interactions between buyers and sellers, and the goal is to initiate, develop, and enhance customer relationships. As opposed to other types of marketing communications, personal selling is the interpersonal one. There's a two-way street of communication rather than a one-way from, let's say, the company to the consumer form of communication. Let's talk about trust-based relationship selling. One thing that we'll focus a lot on in this course is that it is important to develop quality relationships with prospects and clients. These relationships are based and founded on the concept of trust. So therefore, salespeople must earn trust and use selling strategies to meet customer needs. It requires salespeople to also contribute to the creation, communication, and delivery of customer value. And this is different from a transaction-focused selling approach. In a transaction-focused selling approach, the salesperson is mostly concerned with closing the deal and moving on. However, trust-based selling focuses on solving problems, providing opportunities, and adding value to the customer's business over time. Here's a snapshot of what the trust-based sales process looks like. There are basic selling foundations, including trust building and ethics, understanding buyers and learning communication skills. There are also selling strategy that needs to be considered. They're always based on customer needs and value. From there, we start the rest of the process with initiating customer relationships, developing and cultivating those relationships, and enhancing those relationships. Throughout the course of this semester, we will touch on most of these topics. What is customer value? Customer value is a customer's perception of what they obtain or receive in exchange for what they have to give up. It's not necessarily just money that's given up. It is also time, it's effort, and it could be energy. So here's some of the questions that determine whether customer value has been delivered. Does the salesperson do a good job in helping the customer save money or make money or solve a specific problem? Is that salesperson dependable? Are they there when I need them? Does the salesperson help achieve the customer's strategic priorities? And do they understand what those priorities are? Is the salesperson's company easy to work with? Is the salesperson easy to work with? Does the salesperson enlist others when it's required to create value for the customer? And this goes to a team-based selling strategy. Does the sales representative understand the customer's business and his or her industry? A lot of these things will come out of what's called sales dialogue, and whether or not the client believes that that salesperson can deliver on some of those questions. Sales dialogue is a series of conversations between buyers and sellers. And sales dialogue can occur over a period of days, weeks, months, and sometimes even years, depending on the type of product or service being sold. Sales dialogue is very important to the salesperson. It also is very important to the prospect or the client. For the salesperson, it helps them determine if the customer should be targeted for further sales attention. It's possible that that particular prospect does not need or require the product at the current time, or maybe they don't fit a good criteria. Sales dialogue helps the salesperson to clarify that customer's situation and their buying processes. This will help the sales dialogue and the sales process move forward in a much simpler fashion and one that provides value to the customer. Sales dialogue also helps the salesperson to discover what are the unique needs of the customer and how can we help solve or meet those needs. What are the priorities in those needs? Which one should we address first and which one should we address last? It also helps the salesperson communicate how the sales organization can create and deliver customer value. And this is usually based on the products and services within the salesperson's organization. They negotiate a business deal and earn a commitment from the customer. They might make a sale, but the sales dialogue may also focus on commitment to moving the sale along. They can also make the customer aware of other opportunities that can increase value received. Sales dialogue aids in continuous improvement of customer value by assessing the sales organization and the salesperson. Sales plays an important role in a lot of different ways. If you know anyone who works in sales, you can talk to them about some of these things. Salespeople are important because they help stimulate the economy. They're what's called revenue drivers. They also help diffuse innovations, which means help spread new innovations and technologies or new products through a population or society. Salespeople obviously generate revenue, but they also are sometimes play an important role in conducting market research and providing feedback to the firm. They're the person-to-person contact between their firm and the customers, and sometimes even end customers. In this way, they can return important information about what customers need, how they use a product, what some of the deficits of the product or service may be, and inform their company of how to make some changes. They maintain the long-term relationship with customers, and they may also at some point become really good candidates for managerial jobs because they have a really great understanding of what happens out in the field. They provide expertise and coordinate activities within the selling firm. If you're thinking about a job in sales or a career in sales, you might wonder what it takes to be a highly effective or good salesperson. Even if you haven't thought about being in the sales field, see if you can identify any of these skills within yourself. You may decide that personal selling could be a good career for you. Good salespeople are active listeners, and they have a strong service orientation to help their customers. They have good oral communication skills in speaking face-to-face and on the phone, and they're good at coordinating and problem solving. They're dependable, and they pay really close attention to details. This usually helps them craft the best solution to solve a customer problem or meet a customer need. They have strategic organizational skills, which would be required if you're managing your own schedule on a day-to-day basis, which is what a lot of salespeople do. They also tend to be very strong at logical reasoning and having good written communication skills. You may find that you have to write a sales proposal or that you communicate almost exclusively with a customer through emails. Having good written communication skills is very important. You also should be very motivated and have really good integrity. Salespeople often have sales goals that they have to meet every week, every month, or every quarter, and you have to be motivated to reach those goals. But at the same time, you have to have integrity and strong ethical foundation. You should be willing to take initiative and also be very adaptable. The sales environment and the business environment in general can change very quickly and unexpectedly, and being able to adapt to those situations is a good characteristic for a high-performing salesperson. So let's focus now on the concept of trust. If we're to think about sales as a trust-based process, we should have a good understanding of what it means to trust. In this particular sense, trust is the extent of the buyer's confidence that he or she can rely on the salesperson's integrity. It is an integral part of the relationship between customers and suppliers. And trust should result in increased long-term revenues and profits. Take a minute to think about some of the relationships that you have in your life. Chances are the best relationships, the strongest relationships, and the most long-term beneficial relationships are ones where there's a lot of trust. So what are some things that build trust? For the salesperson, they can build trust with a prospect or a client in a number of different ways. These are probably the 5 most popular or most valuable. One is expertise. The other is compatibility, candor, dependability, and having customer orientation. So what do we mean by those? Expertise is asking questions like, does the salesperson know what he or she needs to know? Are they qualified to talk about this product or service? Do they have the ability and resources themselves or within their company to get the job done right? Sometimes in a business-to-business environment, products are very technical and have very intricate specifications. Knowing that the salesperson understands all of those technical intricacies is important. Dependability. Can you rely on the salesperson? If they say they're going to be somewhere or do something, do they keep those promises? Is the salesperson honest in their spoken word? Are their presentations fair and balanced, that they're seeking mutual benefit for their firm and ours? And that's candor. And does the salesperson have good customer orientation? Do they really care about our partnership and protect us or go to bat for us if something goes wrong? And is the salesperson compatible? Will I like doing business with that salesperson? Or will the buyer like doing business with the salesperson's company? So these are some of the questions that might be asked from a buyer on whether or not they can trust a salesperson. I think we know that trust is important in relationships, but sellers are finding it more effective to develop a continuing stream of business from the right customers. And long-term relationships develop mutually beneficial outcomes, and these are characterized by trust and open communication, a realization of common goals, and when both parties have a commitment to mutual gain. So when we talk about the trust-based selling process, this is really the contemporary way of business-to-business selling. Contemporary selling process is embedded within the relationship marketing paradigm, which you may have heard that term before. It emphasizes the initiation and nurturing of long-term buyer-seller relationships. These are based on mutual trust and value-added benefits. One of the things that we mentioned earlier was that a salesperson who is knowledgeable can help build trust between themselves and the buyer. Here are some of the things that are bases for knowledge that can help the salesperson. Having knowledge about the industry in which they're operating or selling into, having knowledge about the company, meaning their own company and potentially the company of their client, knowing a lot about the product or service that they're selling, knowing a lot about pricing and promotions, and also knowing a lot about the market or customer knowledge. Do they understand the end consumer or the general marketplace in which they're operating? Sometimes having a lot of competitor knowledge can also build trust. If you're going to position your product in a sales dialogue against competitors, you have to know a lot about those competitor products. It may also be based on technology. Does the salesperson understand the most current technology or technological trends that are coming ahead that may be important to their customer? Let's talk a little bit now about sales ethics. Salespeople often come up against ethical dilemmas, probably more so than people in any other profession. According to a survey of 327 customers, salespeople are acting unethically if they engage in one of these 13 behaviors. Take a moment to read through them and see what you think. In order to help salespeople think about ethical dilemmas and make the right decisions, some companies will present their salespeople and require them to sign off on a professional salesperson code of ethics. These are principles that outline the minimum requirements for professional conduct for salespeople. They're not really just rules to follow, but guiding standards above which the salesperson should rise. The salesperson would be asked to sign their name that they're committed to these standards and date it. And some companies go through a sales training process where this is presented. Some companies ask their salespeople to sign off on this every year. The areas of unethical behavior tend to fall into these three buckets: deceptive practices, non-customer oriented behavior, or illegal activities. Thinking about ethics and ethical behavior is a really important thing to think about. Salespeople can create a lot of liabilities for companies if they embody unethical behaviors. Here are some of the ones that come up. They can express warranty, which means a salesperson gives a product warranty or some kind of guarantee that obligates the selling organization, even if they know they don't plan to follow through on that or no warranty exists. Sometimes they misrepresent the product. They make false claims about what the product can do, or they're merely negligent. They make false claims about the product or service. So in summary, trust is an essential part to sealing long-term buyer-seller relationships. There are critical variables like expertise and dependability that will help salespeople earn a buyer's trust. A salesperson gathers information from various knowledge bases that can help them build trust. And salespeople are exposed to a lot of ethical pressures, probably more so than individuals in other occupations. And this is the end of the lesson.